Hey Boy Meets World fans, thanks for being here. Welcome back. Hit that like and subscribe button if you are so inclined. Either way, I'm glad you're here. We're talking about Season 1, Episode 19, Kid Gloves. Okay, right off the bat, I like that when Sean says something, Mr. Feeney is like, Mr. Matthews, please, and Corey's like, it wasn't me, it was Sean. Same thing. Mr. Feeney asks, can anyone tell me what the acronym for scuba is? Carrie says, Duba? Mr. Matthews, I have failed you on so many levels. And Minkus doesn't want to answer the question because he wants to fit in. And Mr. Feeney kind of calls him on it. Mr. Minkus does not know. And then he says it. Self-contained underwater breathing apparatus. And Minkus is like, I hate myself. And Sean's like, you're not alone. So Alan puts a box present on Corey's face as he sleeps. Eric sees it. Wake up! You have a box on your face. Then he gets a megaphone. Corey, definitely don't wake up. There's nothing on your face. You lie. There is a box on my face. He opens it to find a necklace with mittens. Eric, you got a buck knife. Well, it's because he doesn't like you as much and he wants you to leave. So Corey says, I'm just going to pretend like I didn't find it. It was on your face. And Alan's like, sorry, honey, our son's going to love me just a little bit more than you today. And Amy says, one day a year I can handle that. Corey rushes out and says, oh yeah, Dad, thanks for the silver mittens. They mean a lot to me. Alan feels very bad, but he didn't explain the importance of it. Morgan is such the emotional manipulator. Corey gets a present, I get a present. Well, that's when you weren't a big girl. And we didn't want you to feel bad. Well, I feel bad now. Amy's like, don't you cave, Alan. It's like, let me buy her level. I can still afford it. Which is kind of true. Because younger kids are way easier to buy the love of. Once they get older, it's really hard to shop for them. Ew, Sean's like, I've gone snorkeling in my bathtub. You can really see things growing down there. And here we are with Corey. I am Scuba Boy. They were still doing that, huh? Sean's like, you're the whitest white boy I've ever seen. So take your shirt off. And he's wearing a shirt with muscles all over it. He's like, so why don't you take off your shirt? Because then I'll look like you. Topanga in her swimsuit makes the boy speechless. You got anything? No. Here comes Minkus. You're beautiful. Stuart. My superficial side thanks you. What's Minkus doing? I don't know, but he's doing it better than us. Okay, one thing I don't get tired of is when the boys look at each other and scream. So funny. Because, of course, Mr. Feeney is the dive master because Mr. Feeney teaches everything. Sharing the breathing apparatus. Corey turns to Sean. Did you brush your teeth this morning? I'm not sure. What day is it? Ew. Oh my gosh, Eric's on the phone with a girl. That is very central to his story. Alan finally explained that he won them for coming in second place in his weight division in the entire United States Navy. And now Corey feels awful because he lost the necklace. And Eric's little comedy routines is, oh, and did you have a son to pass him on to? I do like the moment where he's like, have I told you how much I love that buck knife? And Corey and Alan look at each other and go, shovel. It's fun. Corey's gotta find those silver gloves. Cover for me, Eric? Sure. And he says that he's at Sean's, and then Sean shows up, and it all falls apart. Even little Morgan knows it's pathetic. Corey's scubaed by himself, very dangerous, and Mr. Feeney finds him and lets him know as much. Of course, Alan lets him know, I don't care about those gloves, I care about losing you. And Mr. Feeney walks in and has the silver gloves. He found them in the pool drain. Sorry, not the drain, the filter. So Corey gives back the silver gloves and says, I don't deserve them, so give them back to me on the most important day of my life. And Alan says, when will that be? I don't know, the day you give them back to me? So sweet. And of course, Alan caves on the end scene, and gave Morgan a present in the form of a pony. Did you win this horse in the Navy? No. Then why is it important? Did you win this horse in the Navy? Yes, I did. Okay, so now we're going to talk about the podcast for this episode. And by the way, the end podcast thoughts with Matthew Lawrence are at the end of this video. So stay tuned, enjoy. Let's talk about the podcast. Okay, so we're talking about the Kid Gloves podcast episode now. Ooh, sounds like Will's house is the place to go for Thanksgiving. And now Ryder's wife is a wonderful cook as well, but his parents are now vegan. That should be an interesting Thanksgiving. But my mom is too, so I understand a little bit. I get the best of both worlds. And Danielle totally benefits from the cooks in her life. Did not peg Ryder for the type to go out and shoot wild turkeys. Interesting. Once again, I agree with Will. This is actually not one of my favorite episodes either. Okay, in all my years of watching this show, I never realized what Will just said. Nobody really makes a big deal about Corey's birthday. He gives him the gift. They say happy birthday, and that's it. That is weird. Yeah, scuba club in 6th grade. That was a little unbelievable, I guess. Side yard, backyard still makes no sense. So if Danielle refers to her husband Jensen Karp, does he call her Topanga? No, kidding. It's funny because the show starts with Corey being 11. And then we say, oh, this is his birthday to manhood, so we're thinking 13? So did he skip 12? Yeah, I do agree. The whole Alan not explaining the necklace to Corey before giving it to him was a bonehead move. But yeah, the more they talk about it, they didn't say happy birthday. They didn't act like it was a birthday. I can agree that the bathing suit scene always seemed a bit awkward. Oh, well. It's so crazy to think of him being heavier set as a kid. And it's wild that they did write a scene with him and Matt Lawrence being shirtless together. Yeah, I wouldn't want to go up against Matt either. He's always had a pretty great body, especially back then. Yes, when Lee was wearing when he was wearing his wetsuit, that was great. I do like the emphasis on the scene when Topanga takes her robe off and the boys are just like kind of dumbfounded. They don't know what to do. I know why Will is upset about every time his scenes come up. He's usually talking about a girl, but I kind of think it tracked for his character in being a 16-year-old boy. I guess it's true. Eric really was laying it on thick with the mean older brother shtick in this episode, but I just kind of felt Corey going to the school was a very one-track tunnel vision type thing. I agree, Danielle. I too think that when Eric says the buck knife doesn't mean anything to him, there is a secret message that's saying, yes, it really does mean something to him. Yeah, I have to agree. Ryder's outfit when he comes through the back door looking for Corey, right after Eric said he was at Sean's house. Sean looked pretty crazy in that outfit. That outfit was wild. That is a good point. What was Mr. Feeney doing at the school? Wearing something or using something because you love it, don't hold on to it. The velveteen rabbit of it all. Good point, Danielle. Favorite birthdays as kids. I think mine were probably 11 and 12. I had back-to-back birthdays at Celebration Station. Water bumper boats were everything. If you know, you know. Okay, it does not surprise me at all that Ryder's not a big text fan. Totally get it. So the next part of this video is all the me covering the podcast with Matthew Lawrence. So we're talking about the Pod Meets World podcast with Matthew Lawrence. Super excited about this one. So let's get into it. Oh my God, Will saying how he's not a fan of kids. They're lovely little people who follow you around and carry disease. But he likes his friends' kids. I love that they made the shirts for Danielle, Sweet Release of Death, and Will's Best Grandpa Ever shirts. The fact that Ryder can play the drums both surprises and doesn't surprise me. Apparently Matthew Lawrence is quite the gardener. Danielle thought he lived in Brazil. He lives in Sherman Oaks, which apparently, according to either Will or writer. I think it's Will, the Brazil of the Valley. And he has lots of iguanas. Wow, he does this for like sharing genetics information if populations go down. That's pretty cool. I've never heard of iguana having iguana as a pet for anything other than having as a pet. So that's cool. It always trips me out how much Matt and Joey kind of sound alike. He smuggled his first 2 little lizards in his pocket on a plane back home in '86. Wow. And he says that the feeling that most people get from puppies and kittens, that's the feeling that iguanas and lizards give him. And Matt makes a good point. He says that his family was very musical. That's where they started. They were a musical family, then they got into acting. I always forget this. Okay, fun fact. Matt was the baby on Dynasty, the original one. Really makes you feel for these child actors that still had to act and go to school in a regular school. Because it's just like, I mean, I think school can be a very daunting experience for a lot of people, depending on your experience. And being a celebrity and having that kind of almost stigma on you, I can't imagine how much worse that would make it. So it's kind of crazy to hear all these child actors talk about that. Oh, cool. Matt got to go to the Jurassic Park, premiere and talk to Spielberg. And of course, he was in Mrs. Doubtfire, Robin Williams and Sally Field and Pierce Brosnan. What a great cast. It's a fun movie. For those of you who haven't seen it, go see it. I watched Brotherly Love, and I always wondered what happened to it. So, yeah, the network was selling, and they got caught up in that, and they didn't like where they were placed, so they pulled the plug, and that's when Boy Meets World came a-calling for Matt. And even though Matt was looking forward to playing basketball and possibly taking a break from acting, Michael Jacobs, the ever-persistent man he is, talked Matt into doing Boy Meets World. And I'm so glad he did, because he really added an awesome element to the show. Like, I was so thrilled when he came on. Like, there are TV shows out there that can inject another character later in the game, and it's just like, oh, this isn't working. But he worked beautifully, I think. And I have to say, like, I never felt that way about Boy Meets World. Like, they always managed to just make it work. Oh my gosh. Matt should have been able to play basketball with the Home Improvement boys. That was a missed opportunity. I kind of love that no one on the show, the main cast, didn't know that Matt Lawrence was going to be on the show until the day of the table read. I kind of love that. Interesting point that writer makes about the writers realizing that, Sean and his brother were too serious, Jack, and that's what worked with Jack and Eric. I love that Matt and Danielle's moms became good friends, and of course Danielle and Matt dated, and she went to his prom with him. I think Danielle was like the best at almost keeping her relationship secret. A lot of people on the set didn't know about her and Matt for a while, but then it's like, that is the age before social media when things had a chance of not getting out. Kind of funny that one of the first famous people Will ever met was literally bumping into Joey Lawrence in a bathroom. Oh my gosh, Matt and Ben used to go out on Friday nights specifically, so they'd miss the show airing and go to, I guess, a bar or something. He hasn't specified. I think actors might have been the one to coin the phrase, "we are our own worst critic." Matt is old school. He is not into social media. Kind of refreshing. It's pretty cool that the Lawrence brothers and their whole family are really still very close, and they actually work together still. So that's not something you hear a lot about in the real world, let alone Hollywood. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so this is great. I watched their movie on Amazon Prime, Mistletoe Mix-Up, last year, and I loved it. And he's saying they're gonna do a sequel. Oh, that's fun. So the house that Matt lives in, him and Andy live there together. Then Matt moved out, but now he moved back in. And he said that Boy Meets World is the reason he has that house. That's pretty cool. It's true that the impact of Boy Meets World, with how they really drove home the friendships and how they should always be there for one another, definitely probably resonated with a lot of fans. As they said, they get a lot of fans coming up acting like, oh, so do you still talk to everybody? You know, even though it's been like 20, 30 years. Oh my God. You know, Matt being on the show with his character Jack really did ground the scenes for Eric, to go wild and become the living cartoon character, which honestly totally tracks for Will's real life. Ooh, we might see Matt at some conventions with this group. And I am sad to hear that the South Texas con, I don't know which one he's referring to, was not a good experience for him. Although I have an idea of which one he might be talking about, and that wouldn't surprise me. So, hopefully he comes out again and gives it another try. Okay, I'm not sure about that merch call, Will. This one was a little weird. I love that they like each other so much. That they just like hanging out with each other, even though they're doing this show. They still hang out outside of the show, and it's just great. Okay, that's it for me, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, feel free to like and subscribe. I'll see you next week.